Welcome back to Current. Last week, we had a little fun with our Current crew here and our beauty expert, Christina Gallardo. We asked her all these questions that we need to know about beauty and things that we might just be making mistakes on, pretty much. Now she's back with the part 2, things that we really, really want to know. Let's start with this first one, Christina. Are you ready for round 2?
I'm ready.
Okay, first up, this question is from our producer, Jen. Her question is about foundation. Now, what are some things to consider when picking out the right shade, and how can we make sure it matches our skin tone? This is a common problem a lot of people have.
It's definitely an age-old question that everyone struggles with. And the first thing you really need to consider is your undertone. So undertones fall into 3 categories: warm, cool, and neutral. And warm undertones are golden, cool lean more pink or red, and then neutral is a mix of both. So you have to look at the overall tones of your skin to determine which applies. If you're still not really sure where you fall, veins are always a good checkpoint. So blue veins are cool, blue-green veins are neutral, and green veins are warm. Next, you want to test an area. I like to test the jawline, dragging the foundation from your face to your neck to prevent that floating face catastrophe that happens when your foundation doesn't match your neck. And it's important to remember that a lot of foundations oxidize. So when you're in the store, you really need to let it sit on your face for a few minutes before making your decision. Also, try and look at it in different lighting. Sometimes things match in fluorescent store lighting, and then when you go outside, it looks like a whole other color.
I've seen that, actually. Now, I know you know me, but what would you say my undertone is, just so I know when I go to the store?
You're definitely warmer.
Okay. Our next question, speaking of warm colors, this one comes from Krista Delcamp. It's about body makeup. What is the best body makeup out there that doesn't transfer to your clothes, your sheets, or even worse, and I see this a lot, is the seats of the cars. That self-tanner can just leak and transfer onto your car seats.
That's the worst. And body makeup is so popular right now, but you really have to be careful, especially when you're wearing white or light colors. I'm always skeptical, because even the best products can tend to transfer sometimes. But I haven't found one I love personally, but I do trust Sir John. And Sir John is Beyonce's trusted makeup artist for years, and he swears by all even color shield. It's actually what she wore for her infamous Coachella performance. And it's water and maximum transfer resistant formula with innovative skin tone adapting pigments. And basically you just spray it on, let it dry for 5 minutes, and you're good to go.
Oh, I'm definitely in for that. And trusting Sir John seems like the way to go. Anyone that knows Beyonce on the regular and does her makeup to have her look like that knows what he's talking about. All right, Susan Tran has 3 different questions. We're going to start with her first one. And this is what her question is. I would love to know how to freshen up my foundation that eases into my wrinkles after 5 hours so I look nice for a later show.
That's actually a really great question. In terms of freshening your foundation, it all depends on how the foundation has eased into your wrinkles. Is it that you're oily and it's separated? If that's the case, blot the excess oil from the area and then go in and buff out the product with a fluffy concealer brush. You may need to use the same brush to buff in a little extra concealer where it's worn off from the day. And then if it's eased into your wrinkles and it's become dry and cakey, then you need hydration. So a makeup hydrating and setting mist should do the trick. Evenly spray your face, holding the bottle 8 to 10 inches from your face. And then while the makeup is still damp, you want to take a fluffy concealer brush to buff out those creases.
Oh, good tips, and so necessary for a lot of us who have to wear makeup on those really long days. Now, her next question is, what's the proper way to highlight and contour? Because we've talked about this, Christina. Highlighter can get crazy.
Yes, highlighter can get crazy. Contouring can get crazy too, especially a lot of the YouTube tutorials online. Or film that's not for in person, and people end up looking very muddy. But it's not a one-size-fits-all technique. It all depends on your face shape and your features. For oily skin, I recommend using powder products. For dry skin, I recommend cream products. But the premise is, if the sun is on your face, where you naturally have shadows, you want to contour. And then on the high points where the light is the brightest, you want to highlight. So for example, if you want to make your jawline look sharper and minimize a double chin, adding a contour creates shadow to sharpen your face shape. If you want to minimize your forehead, you're going to add contour along your hairline and down along your temples to create depth and shadows instead of having a big light reflecting plane across your face. But I always recommend searching contour tips for your specific face shape or need, and then taking tips from there instead of following a general map, because there isn't one. Everyone's face is different.
Yeah, like you said, not one size fits all. Now here's Susan's last question. How do I get rid of the bags under my eyes? For a more mature face, it's not helpful to have 20-something showing me tips when she is not set to have the flaws on her face for another 10 years.
I know. All right. So a lot of the time, eye bags are created by discoloration and dimension. So we want to make sure we're color correcting that darkness or that color, and then strategically applying your concealer. In terms of color correcting, Fenty Beauty makes an amazing color correcting product called Bright Fix. And I recommend using the colors Melon and Peach, but it's my go-to for dark circles, especially for mature skin, because it's light and it won't crease or cake up. And you only want to place that color correction where you see the darkest blue tones under your eyes. And then you want to conceal over that. And remember, the lighter the concealer, the more prominent it will make your bags. So you really only want to make your concealer you really only want it to be one shade lighter than your foundation. You don't want a huge contrast when dimension is your issue. And then that whole upside down triangle of concealer technique is a thing of the past. So you really only want to put it where you want to lift and brighten your eye. So you'll lightly dab the concealer wand in the inner corner and outer corners, and then you gently want to press and buff into those areas and blend what's left on your brush into the center to connect it. You don't need to literally put it all over that area. But that's it. No heavy machinery required.
I'm really happy that you busted that myth, because it seems like a lot of people still following the old ways of doing it, and you just gave us a bit of a new perspective. We really love having you here, Christina. I think we feel like we got everything covered when it comes to the basics, but if you viewers at home have more questions, Christina would love to answer them. And where she'll do it? Instagram. Just follow her there at @makeupbyChristinaG_, then shoot her a DM for your must-know beauty questions. She's going to answer them in some future segments.